The crystal champagne flute shattered in my grip, sending shards across the marble floor of my own dining room. Silence fell over the birthday gathering as all eyes turned to me, but I barely noticed the sting of the cut on my palm. All I could focus on was the satisfied smirk on Vivian's face as she finished her latest verbal assault. My name is Adeline, and this was supposed to be my 35th birthday celebration. Instead, it became yet another stage for my mother-in-law's favorite performance. Let's remind everyone how inadequate Adeline is. Oh dear, do be careful with the crystal. Some of us know how to handle fine things, Vivian said, adjusting her pearl necklace. Though I suppose we can't all have that natural grace, can we? I watched a drop of blood fall from my palm to the floor. My husband, Forrest, predictably, became intensely interested in his phone screen. Here, let me help you with that. Livia, my best friend, appeared at my side with a napkin, wrapping it around my hand. Her eyes met mine with silent support. Really, Adeline, Vivian continued, addressing the room more than me. I told Forrest he should have let me plan this party. The catering is adequate, I suppose. But these plates? From Target. At least you tried, dear. The plates were hand-painted Italian ceramic, but I didn't bother correcting her. I'd learned long ago that facts were irrelevant in Vivian's world. Actually, I picked those plates. Trinity, my coworker, spoke up from across the room. They're from that little boutique in Milan, the one featured in Architectural Digest last month. Vivian's smile tightened. Well, they certainly look mass-produced. Randolph, my business partner, cleared his throat. Speaking of production, Adeline, didn't you just close that major deal with— Oh, please, Vivian interrupted, waving her hand dismissively. Let's not discuss business at a social gathering. It's so nouveau riche. She turned to Forrest. Darling, remember when I threw your 35th? Now that was a party. The governor attended, remember? I excused myself to the kitchen, clutching the bloody napkin. Livia followed, closing the door behind us. I swear to God, Adeline, one of these days I'm going to— Don't, I cut her off, running my hand under cold water. It's not worth it. The hell it's not. Did you see Forrest just sitting there, while his mother— I saw. My voice was steadier than I felt. I always see. The kitchen door swung open, and Trinity slipped in, followed by Randolph. Your mother-in-law is currently explaining to everyone how you clearly couldn't afford proper lighting for the dining room, Trinity reported, which is hilarious, considering you literally designed the lighting system for half the high-rises downtown. You can't keep letting her do this, Randolph said quietly. You're one of the most successful architects in the city. You've won awards. You're about to— I know. I dried my hands, straightening my shoulders. Trust me, I know. The door opened again, and Forrest poked his head in. Mother's wondering where everyone went. The cake. Of course, I replied, my voice honey-sweet. We wouldn't want to keep your mother waiting. Back in the dining room, Vivian had positioned herself at the head of the table, my seat. As the staff brought out the cake, she began regaling everyone with stories about Forrest's childhood, pointedly excluding me from every anecdote. I watched her hold court, saw how she'd orchestrated the entire evening to remind me of my place in her hierarchy. Watched my husband of 10 years pretend not to notice. Felt the weight of every slight, every dismissal, every carefully crafted insult she'd delivered over the years. Something inside me shifted. Maybe it was the way the cut on my palm throbbed. Maybe it was catching Vivian's reflection in the window, preening as she commanded everyone's attention. Or maybe it was simply time. Actually, I said, standing up, I'm not feeling well. I think we should end the evening here. Vivian's eyes gleamed with triumph. Oh dear, not handling your wine well. I did try to teach you about proper portions. I met her gaze steadily. Thank you all for coming, especially you, Vivian. You've made this evening unforgettable. As guests began gathering their things, I caught snippets of Vivian's stage whispers. Poor dear, never could handle hosting. And Forrest deserves someone more capable. I stood at the door, accepting hugs and goodbyes, the cut on my palm a constant reminder. Livia squeezed my arm as she left, Trinity and Randolph both giving me meaningful looks. Later, as I lay in bed, listening to Forrest apologize for his mother being herself, I made a decision. This would be the last birthday where Vivian Anderson made me feel small. I had something coming that would change everything. And this time, I wouldn't be the one caught off guard. The morning after my disastrous birthday party, I sat in my office, staring at the email that would change everything. The board's decision was unanimous. I would be the new CEO of Anderson and Steele Architecture, effective immediately. You haven't told Forrest yet, have you? Randolph leaned against my door frame, 2 coffee cups in hand. I shook my head, accepting the coffee he offered. He thinks I'm still just the creative director. Actually, he thinks I'm playing at being creative director. Your husband seriously doesn't know you own 40% of the company. Vivienne convinced him years ago that my position here was a courtesy appointment. I took a sip of coffee, remembering that conversation. She told everyone at the country club I was the office decorator. Randolph's laugh was sharp. The office decorator who designed the new Performing Arts Center and just landed the international airport contract. My phone buzzed, a message from Vivienne. Darling, I've taken the liberty of scheduling you for etiquette refresher courses. Last night was quite embarrassing. Delete it, Randolph advised, watching my face darken. Focus on what's coming. Speaking of which, I pulled up my calendar. The International Architecture Awards Gala is in 3 weeks, where you'll be announced as both CEO and recipient of the Innovation in Sustainable Design Award. Randolph grinned. Have you decided how you're going to play it? Before I could answer, Louisa, my assistant, rushed in. Adeline, your mother-in-law is in the lobby. She's insisting on taking you to lunch to discuss your behavior. Perfect timing, I said, standing up. Send her up. Randolph raised an eyebrow. You sure? Trust me. 5 minutes later, Vivian swept into my office like she owned it, designer handbag swinging. Really, Adeline, that display last night was unacceptable. What will people think? About what specifically, Vivienne? I remained seated, watching her search for the most commanding position in the room. Your emotional outburst, the broken glass, leaving your own party early. I've always said Forrest needed someone more stable. Stable, I repeated, thinking of the contract paper in my desk drawer. Like the foundation of a building. She waved her hand dismissively. Don't try to talk business, dear. It doesn't suit you. Now, about these etiquette classes. I have a better idea, I interrupted, pressing the intercom. Louisa, could you bring in the Thompson portfolio? Louisa appeared with the blueprints for our latest project, a sustainable luxury hotel that had made headlines. What's this? Vivian asked, irritation creeping into her voice. The Thompson Hotel project. You mentioned it at the country club last month. Said it was a shame your son's company had lost the bid to some upstart firm. Her perfectly lined lips tightened. Well, yes, it was quite disappointing for Forrest. Except Anderson and Steele won that bid. I spread the plans across my desk. My design, my pitch, my project. Don't be ridiculous. Forrest would have told me. Forrest doesn't know. I met her eyes. Just like he doesn't know about the airport contract, or the Performing Arts Center, or the 40% ownership stake I have in this company. The color drained from her face. You're lying. The International Architecture Awards Gala is in 3 weeks. You should come. Bring Forrest. I'm sure you'll both find it educational. She stood abruptly. I don't know what game you're playing. No games, Vivian. Just business. I smiled. Which, as you've pointed out, I know nothing about. After she stormed out, Randolph reappeared. That was bold. She won't tell Forrest, I said, gathering the blueprints. Her pride won't let her admit she was wrong about me. She'll come to the gala expecting to prove me a liar. And instead, she'll watch me accept my award and CEO position in front of every major player in the industry. I paused. Including the governor she's so proud of knowing. Trinity poked her head in. Was that the dragon lady I saw leaving? She looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. More like the first taste of her own medicine, Randolph said. My phone buzzed again. Livia, this time. Lunch. Need to hear about the aftermath of last night. Go, Randolph urged. You've earned a break. We'll finish the gala preparations tomorrow. As I gathered my things, Trinity asked, Are you sure you want to wait 3 weeks? You could just tell Forrest tonight. I thought about all the dinner parties where Vivian had belittled me, all the times Forrest had looked away, all the years of carefully constructed humiliation. Some lessons, I said, are better learned in public. Walking to meet Livia, I felt lighter than I had in years. The cut on my palm had scabbed over, but I pressed it gently, remembering, sometimes you need to bleed a little before you can heal properly, and sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served under spotlights, with an audience, and a standing ovation. The invitations have to be perfect, I told Louisa, watching her sort through sample cards, especially the one for Vivienne. Gold embossing, heavy cardstock, and just pretentious enough to make her feel special. Louisa held up an elegant cream-colored invitation. Exactly. She needs to think this is Forrest's moment. We were in my office after hours, finalizing details for the gala. The city lights twinkled through the floor-to-ceiling windows, reminding me of all the nights I'd spent here building my career while Vivian assumed I was getting manicures or shopping. Speaking of Forrest, Louisa said carefully, he called earlier, asked about your late nights at the office. What did you tell him? That you're working on a special project, which isn't a lie. My phone lit up with a text from Forrest. Mother's worried about you, says you're acting erratic. Dinner at her house tomorrow. Erratic, I muttered, showing Louisa the message. 3 weeks of focusing on work instead of attending her charity luncheons. And suddenly I'm erratic. Mrs. Anderson did stop by reception twice this week, Louisa revealed, trying to get information about your schedule. Before I could respond, Trinity burst into the office. We have a situation. Vivienne was just at LeBlanc. LeBlanc was where all the society wives had their weekly gossip sessions, disguised as lunch. And, I asked, though I already knew it wouldn't be good. She was telling everyone you're having some sort of breakdown. Said you've been making wild claims about your position here, that you're embarrassing Forrest. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Of course she is. That's not all, Trinity continued. She's been calling board members' wives, trying to dig up dirt on you. Let her dig, I said, turning to my computer. Louisa, send out the invitations tomorrow. Trinity, make sure the press releases are ready to go the morning after the gala. Already done, Louisa confirmed. Though I did have to promise the governor's office 3 separate interviews to guarantee his attendance. Perfect. Vivian would never miss a chance to network with him. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Randolph. Turn on Channel 7 News, now. Trinity grabbed the remote, and we watched as the evening news covered a story about the Thompson Hotel project. The reporter was interviewing someone I recognized, one of Vivienne's closest friends. Concerns about the project's leadership, the woman was saying. Sources say the firm may not be as stable as they claim. That witch, Trinity breathed. She's trying to sabotage the project. I picked up my phone, dialing Randolph. Tell me you're handling this. Already on it. I've got statements from our major investors ready to go. And the Thompson family is willing to do an interview tomorrow, confirming their confidence in us. Good. And Randolph, make sure they specifically mention who designed their hotel. After hanging up, I turned to find both Louisa and Trinity staring at me. What? Are you sure you want to keep waiting? Trinity asked. She's escalating. That's exactly why we wait, I said, pulling up the gala seating chart. She's getting sloppy, making mistakes. By the time the gala arrives, she'll have shown everyone exactly who she is. Louisa's phone chimed. The venue manager needs final numbers for the seating arrangements. Put Vivian at table 1, I instructed. Front and center. I want her to have the perfect view when everything falls apart. Trinity leaned over my shoulder, studying the chart. You're seating her with the governor's wife, bold, and the wives of every board member she's been calling. Let them see her reaction up close. My phone lit up with another text from Forrest. Made reservations at Mother's Club for Friday. She wants to discuss your behavior. You're not going, are you? Trinity asked, reading the message. Oh, I'm going. I smiled. In fact, I'm going to be perfectly pleasant. Let her think she's winning. Louisa started gathering the invitation samples. Should I cancel your actual Friday meetings? No need. I'll have lunch with Vivienne, then head straight to the airport to sign the international contract. She can spend the afternoon telling everyone how I waste my time while I'm literally expanding the company globally. A knock at the door made us all look up. It was the cleaning lady, looking apologetic. Sorry to interrupt, but there was a woman here earlier asking questions about Ms. Adeline's schedule. She said she was family. Let me guess, I said. Elegant, perfectly coiffed, wearing pearls? The cleaner nodded. Next time, tell her I'm in a very important meeting. Don't specify what kind. I turned to Trinity and Louisa. Vivian's getting desperate. She knows something's coming, but she can't figure out what. 3 weeks, Trinity said. 3 weeks, I confirmed, looking out at the city I was helping build, one design at a time. And then we'll see who's really erratic. Trinity cornered me in the office kitchen 2 weeks before the gala, her face unusually serious. We need to talk, now. She practically dragged me into the conference room, closing the door behind us. I was at La Maison last night. La Maison was Vivienne's favorite restaurant, where she held court with her social circle every Wednesday. And Forrest was there, with her. Trinity's hands were shaking slightly. You need to hear what I recorded. She pulled out her phone, and Vivian's distinctive voice filled the room. Really, darling, I've been saying for years she's not suitable. Remember that lovely girl I introduced you to last summer? The one from the right family? Mother, please. Forrest's voice, tired but not disagreeing. Adeline's been acting strange lately. But strange? She's delusional, claiming she's some sort of executive here. I spoke with Margaret, and she assured me the board would never allow such a thing. We need to consider having her evaluated. I'm sure it won't come to that. Of course it will, and when it does, we'll make sure everyone knows it was for her own good. The divorce will be much cleaner that way. The recording ended. I sat very still, my hands flat on the conference table. There's more, Trinity said quietly. They're planning something for the gala. I couldn't hear exactly what, but Vivian kept mentioning making sure you're exposed properly. Did you tell anyone else about this? Just Randolph. He's pulling together contingency plans for. The door opened, and Forrest walked in. Trinity and I froze. Adeline, your assistant said you were in here. He looked between us. Everything okay? Fine, I said smoothly. Just reviewing some presentations. Did you need something? Mother wants to know if you're free for tea tomorrow. She's concerned about you. I bet she is, I thought. Actually, I have a client meeting tomorrow. Very important. You've been saying that a lot lately. He frowned. Mother thinks. I'm sure she does. I stood up. Tell her I'm sorry to miss tea. I'm sure she can find someone else to critique for an afternoon. That's not fair, Adeline. She's trying to help. Trinity made a sound that might have been a laugh or a cough. Was there anything else? I asked. Some of us have work to do. After he left, Trinity turned to me. You're still not going to tell him about the CEO position? No, let him find out with everyone else. I meant about the recording, about his mother plotting your downfall over crème brûlée. I gathered my papers. He wouldn't believe it. He never has. Back in my office, Randolph was waiting. Trinity told you. I nodded. We should move up the announcement, he said, before Vivian can. No, we stick to the plan, but, I smiled slightly, maybe we add some insurance. I pressed the intercom. Louisa, get me the governor's office, and then call Livia. Tell her I need her PR expertise. That evening, I arrived home to find Forrest in the living room, looking troubled. Mother says you've been spreading rumors about the company, he said without preamble, that you're causing problems with investors. Interesting. I poured myself a glass of wine. And what do you think? I think you've been working too hard. Maybe you should take a break, let someone else handle things for a while. Someone your mother approves of. He sighed. Why do you always make everything about her? My phone buzzed. A message from Livia. Press release drafted. Governor's wife confirmed for pre-gala interview. You're going to love this. You're right, I told Forrest. Let's not talk about your mother. Let's talk about the gala instead. You are coming, aren't you? Mother says it's important for appearances. Of course she does, I thought. Good, it's going to be quite memorable. Later that night, I received another text, this time from Trinity. Vivian's been calling board members again, trying to suggest you're unstable, unfit for leadership. I replied, perfect, let her dig her own grave. Then I called Randolph. Move Margaret to Vivian's table at the gala. The board member's wife, who's been feeding her false information. Exactly. I want them to have front row seats to each other's humiliation. You're scary sometimes, you know that. I learned from the best, I said, thinking of all Vivian's careful social manipulations over the years. The students about to surpass the teacher. After hanging up, I stood at my home office window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Vivian was probably plotting my professional demise over expensive wine, while Forrest nodded along, convinced he was being supportive by staying neutral. 2 weeks. 2 weeks until everything changed. Let them plot. Let them scheme. Let them think they know what's coming. They had no idea. You need to see this, Livia announced, bursting into my office with her laptop. Someone sent me an email from an anonymous account 1 week before the gala, and the tension was building. I gestured for her to sit. It's a series of emails between Vivian and several board members' wives, Livia continued, turning the screen toward me. Dating back months, she's been systematically trying to undermine you. I scanned the emails, my jaw tightening. She told them I was sleeping with clients to get contracts. Keep reading. The emails got worse. Vivian had crafted an elaborate narrative about my supposed mental instability, suggesting I was embezzling company funds to support a gambling addiction. She'd even hinted that my recent erratic behavior might be drug-related. Who sent this to you? I asked. Margaret. Livia smiled. Apparently, she's been playing double agent, recording conversations, saving emails. She's got videos of Vivian at social events, openly plotting to have you removed from the company. Trinity appeared in the doorway. The governor's wife is here for the pre-gala interview. Perfect timing. I stood, straightening my jacket. Livia, get those emails to our legal team. Trinity, make sure the photographer gets good shots of me with the governor's wife. The interview took place in our main conference room, overlooking the city. Mrs. Bradford, the governor's wife, was surprisingly warm. I've been following your work for years, she said, as the photographer set up. That performing arts center design was brilliant. Funny, I replied. Vivienne Anderson told me you found it garish and nouveau riche. Mrs. Bradford's eyebrows shot up. Did she? Interesting, considering I specifically praised it at the last charity board meeting. She was there. She does seem to have trouble remembering certain things, I said diplomatically. After the interview, Randolph pulled me aside. We've got another problem. Viviana has been calling our major clients, trying to warn them about my supposed instability. Worse, she's telling them the company is about to undergo major leadership changes, suggesting they might want to delay any pending contracts. My phone buzzed. Forrest. Mother wants us both for dinner tonight. Says it's important. Go, Randolph advised, reading the message over my shoulder. Keep her thinking she's in control. Vivian's house was exactly what you'd expect. A showcase of old money and careful curation. That evening, she'd set an elaborate table for 3. Darling, she greeted me with air kisses. You look tired. Those late nights at the office must be so draining. Actually, I feel great. I took my seat. The gala preparations are coming along beautifully. About that, she poured wine with practiced grace. I've been hearing concerning things. Perhaps it would be better if you didn't attend. Forrest shifted uncomfortably. Mother. No, darling, this needs to be said. Adeline, your recent behavior has been troubling, making grandiose claims about your position, spreading rumors. What claims specifically concern you, Vivienne? She waved her hand dismissively. This fantasy about being some sort of executive. Really, dear, it's embarrassing. My phone buzzed again. A message from Louisa. Final seating chart approved. Press confirmed. Governor's office sent over his speech. He specifically mentions your achievements. You know what's interesting? I said, putting my phone away. How hard you've worked to keep me small. All these years, every slight, every dismissal, every carefully orchestrated humiliation. The color drained from Vivian's face. I don't know what your... The emails were particularly creative. Drug addiction, gambling. You must have stayed up nights crafting those stories. Forrest looked between us, confused. What emails? Nothing you need to worry about, darling. Vivian said quickly. Adeline is clearly what? I stood up. Unstable? Delusional. Better be careful with those accusations, Vivian. They might come back to haunt you. Is that a threat? No. I smiled. It's a preview. See you at the gala. Outside, Forrest caught up to me. Adeline, wait. What's really going on? I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in weeks. You know, for years I wondered why you never defended me. Now I realize you're just like her, so convinced of your own superiority that you can't see what's right in front of you. What's that supposed to mean? Come to the gala, I said, getting into my car. Find out. As I drove away, my phone lit up with messages from Trinity, Livia, and Randolph, all confirming different pieces falling into place. 1 week, 7 days, until Vivian's carefully constructed world came crashing down. And this time, I wouldn't be the one picking up the pieces. The Grand Plaza Ballroom glittered with 1,000 lights, each one reflecting off the crystal chandeliers I'd specifically chosen for tonight. Guests in formal wear mingled, champagne flowed, and the air buzzed with anticipation. Vivienne just arrived, Livia reported through my earpiece. She's wearing red. Of course she was. She always wore red when she wanted to be the center of attention. Everything's set, I asked, adjusting my black designer gown. Press is in position, Governor's on his way, and... Livia paused. Margaret just texted. She has the video ready. I watched from the mezzanine as Vivian made her entrance, Forrest trailing behind her. She headed straight for the Governor's wife, already playing her social games. Ready? Randolph appeared beside me. Born ready. We descended the grand staircase together, and I felt Vivian's eyes lock onto us immediately. She was probably wondering why I looked so confident, why I was entering with one of the firm's founding partners. Adeline, she air-kissed my cheeks. Darling, you really should have consulted me about the seating arrangements. There seemed to be some unfortunate mix-ups. No mix-ups, I assured her. Everyone is exactly where they should be. Forrest approached, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. The Governor's asking for you. Is he? Vivian preened. Well, we shouldn't keep him waiting. He's asking for Adeline, Forrest clarified. The flash of anger in Viviana's eyes was quick but unmistakable. Well, I'm sure he'd like to see us all. Before she could maneuver her way into the conversation, Trinity appeared. Adeline, the press needs you for photos. With the Governor. I could feel Vivian following as I made my way through the crowd, trying to insert herself into the moment. The Governor greeted me warmly. There's our woman of the hour, he boomed. My wife hasn't stopped talking about your interview. Vivian pushed forward. Oh, Governor, you remember me. We met at the... Later, please. His aide interrupted. Photos first. I posed with the Governor while Vivian seethed in the background. Cameras flashed, capturing what would become tomorrow's business section headlines. Speech time in 10 minutes, Louisa whispered as she passed by. I made my way to my seat, noting with satisfaction that Vivian was positioned perfectly, close enough to see everything, but not part of the main action. What's going on? Forrest asked, taking his assigned seat beside his mother. Why is everyone treating this like it's your event? Because it is, I replied simply. The Governor took the podium, and the room fell silent. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "we're here tonight to celebrate excellence in architecture and design. But more than that, we're here to recognize a visionary leader." I saw Vivian lean forward, probably assuming he meant Forrest. "Someone who has transformed our city's skyline, who has brought sustainable design to the forefront of modern architecture. Someone who, as of today, becomes the youngest CEO in her field." The color drained from Vivian's face. "Please join me in congratulating Adeline, not only on her appointment as CEO of Anderson & Steele Architecture, but also as this year's recipient of the International Innovation in Sustainable Design Award." The room erupted in applause. I stood, making my way to the podium, as Vivian grabbed Forrest's arm. "This is ridiculous," I heard her hiss. "Do something." But there was nothing he could do. The screens around the ballroom lit up with images of my projects, my achievements, my journey to this moment. "Thank you, Governor," I began. "This is an incredible honor." From my position at the podium, I could see everything. Margaret smirking at Vivian, the board members nodding approvingly, the press furiously taking notes. "Architecture isn't just about buildings," I continued. "It's about foundation, structure, truth." I paused, meeting Vivian's eyes. "Sometimes, people try to undermine that foundation. They spread rumors, create false narratives, attempt to destroy what others have built." The screen switched to display emails. Vivian's emails, her careful campaign of destruction, laid bare for all to see. "But a well-built structure can withstand any attack," I said, as gasps and murmurs filled the room. "As long as its foundation is solid." Vivian stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Forrest sat frozen, finally seeing the truth he'd ignored for so long. "To everyone who supported me, who believed in my vision, thank you." I raised my glass. "And to those who doubted, who tried to tear me down," I smiled directly at Vivienne. "Thank you too. You taught me exactly what kind of leader I don't want to be." The applause was deafening, but I barely heard it. I was too focused on Vivian's face as her carefully constructed social empire began to crumble. And this was only the beginning of the evening. The chaos that erupted after my speech was exactly what I'd anticipated. Vivian stood at her table, her perfectly manicured hands gripping the back of her chair as her social circle physically distanced themselves from her. "This is slander," she announced to anyone who would listen. "I'll sue." "With what evidence?" Margaret asked sweetly, holding up her phone. "I have recordings of every conversation where you plotted against Adeline. Would you like me to play them?" Forrest finally found his voice. "Adeline, what is all this?" "Your mother's been busy," I said, approaching their table. "Want to hear her plans for my psychiatric evaluation? Or maybe the rumors she spread about drug addiction?" The gambling stories were particularly creative. "Mother?" Forrest turned to Vivienne. "What is she talking about?" "She's lying." Vivienne's voice rose shrilly. "She's manipulating everyone, just like she manipulated her way into this position." Trinity stepped forward, tablet in hand. "Actually, we have the board's unanimous vote recorded, along with documentation of every project Adeline has led over the past 5 years. Would you like to see the revenue figures?" The governor's wife approached, her face stern. "Vivian, I think it's best if you step down from the hospital board. We can't have someone who engages in character assassination representing our charity." "But I've been on that board for 20 years. Vivian's carefully crafted facade began to crack. "Yes," Mrs. Bradford replied. 20 years of taking credit for other people's work, just like you tried to do with Adeline's achievements." More people were gathering now, years of Vivian's victims, finally finding their voice. "Remember when she said my catering business was quaint?" One woman said. "Then tried to steal my contracts. She told my husband I was having an affair with my business partner." Another added. "Nearly ruined my marriage." Forrest stood up, looking lost. "I don't understand." "Mother, these people are telling the truth," I finished for him. "Just like I've been trying to tell you for years." You ungrateful little. Vivian lunged forward, but Randolph stepped between us. Security, he called calmly. I believe Mrs. Anderson needs some air. As two discreet security guards approached, Vivian played her final card. Forrest, are you going to let them treat your mother this way? But Forrest was staring at the screens, still displaying evidence of his mother's campaign against me. All those times you said Adeline was imagining things. I did it for you. Vivian's mascara was starting to run. She was never good enough for you, never good enough for our family. Good enough? I laughed. I built half the buildings in this city's skyline. I turned this company's profits around. I won international awards. The only thing I wasn't good enough for was your ego. Please escort Mrs. Anderson out, Randolph instructed security, and make sure the press gets her statement about suing us. I'm sure they'll be very interested in discovery. As Vivian was led away, still protesting, the governor approached. Impressive handling of a difficult situation, he said. Your new sustainable city project proposal. I'd like to discuss it over lunch next week. Of course, Governor, my assistant will set it up. The party gradually returned to normal, though the buzz was decidedly different now. I watched as Vivian's former friends huddled in groups, probably realizing they needed to realign their social allegiances. Adeline. Forrest touched my arm. I don't know what to say. That's not surprising, I replied. You haven't known what to say for 10 years. I never knew she was doing all this. You thought I was overreacting, imagining things, being difficult. I turned to face him fully. Tell me, what's your excuse for all the times you saw her behavior firsthand and did nothing? He had no answer. That's what I thought. I gestured to Louisa, who appeared with a manila envelope. These are divorce papers. Your mother was right about one thing. Our marriage is over. Just not for the reasons she planned. You can't be serious. Actually, I've never been more serious. I handed him the envelope. I designed my life, just like I designed my buildings, with careful planning, strong foundations, and no room for toxic structures. As he stood there, envelope in hand, looking as lost as I'd ever seen him, I felt nothing but relief. Enjoy the rest of the party, I said. I have a city to build. I walked away to where my real support system waited. Trinity, Livia, Randolph, and Louisa. Behind me, I could hear the whispers, see the phones coming out as people spread the news of Vivian's downfall. Well, Livia said, handing me a fresh glass of champagne. That was something. That, I replied, was just the foundation. Wait until they see what I build next. The night wasn't over, but the hardest part was done. I'd finally broken free of the prison Vivian had built around me, brick by careful brick, and I'd done it by building something stronger, my own empire of truth. The morning sun streamed through my office windows as I reviewed the final designs for the Sustainable City project. The governor's endorsement had fast-tracked everything, and construction would begin next month. Package for you, Louisa said, placing a thick envelope on my desk. Hand-delivered. I recognized Forrest's handwriting immediately. Inside was a letter, along with what looked like old photographs. Also, Vivian was spotted house hunting in Florida, Louisa added. Apparently, the social exile here became too much. How the mighty fall, I murmured, unfolding the letter. Before I could read it, Trinity burst in. Turn on the news, now. The Business Channel was running a feature on women in architecture, using my story as their centerpiece. But what caught my attention was the crawl at the bottom of the screen. Vivian Anderson resigns from all charity boards amid scandal. Full story at 11. That's not even the best part, Trinity grinned. Margaret just called. Apparently, Vivian tried to join 3 different country clubs in Palm Beach. They all rejected her membership. Karma, Louisa said, is a beautiful thing. I turned my attention back to Forrest's letter, reading aloud. Adeline, I found these while clearing out Mother's house. She kept a file on you, documenting every achievement she tried to diminish. Looking at them now, I see what I refused to see before. Your talent, your vision, your strength. The photos showed my early projects, newspaper clippings of my awards, even sketches I thought I'd lost years ago. "There's more," Trinity said, reading over my shoulder. "I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I'm getting help, learning to see the patterns Mother created, the way she manipulated everything and everyone. The divorce papers are signed. The house is yours. It's time I built my own life." Without Mother's blueprint, Randolph appeared in the doorway, ready for the board meeting. "Just a minute." I gathered the photos, pausing at one of my first design that won an award. The one Vivian had dismissed as amateur. The boardroom was full when I entered. These meetings felt different now. No more subtle undermining. No whispered doubts about my capabilities. "The Sustainable City Project is generating unprecedented interest," Randolph announced. "Thanks to Adeline's innovative design, we've secured funding for the next decade of development." My phone buzzed, a message from Livia. "Lunch, got tea to spill," about Vivian's failed attempt to join the Garden Society. "One more item," I said to the board. "I'd like to propose a mentorship program for young female architects. Give them what I never had: support, recognition, and a clear path to leadership." The vote was unanimous. As people filed out, Margaret lingered. "You know," she said, "watching Vivian's downfall has been satisfying. But watching you rise, that's been inspiring." Back in my office, I found another surprise: a young woman waiting nervously with her portfolio. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she said, standing quickly. "Your assistant said you might have a minute. I'm graduating from architecture school, and after seeing your story, I thought about all the doors Vivian had tried to close, all the talent she'd tried to suppress." "Come in," I said. "Show me what you've got." Later, walking through the city with Livia, I pointed out my buildings, each one a testament to surviving Vivian's attempts to destroy me. "Look what came today," Livia said, showing me her phone. The local paper's society page featured Vivian at a small Florida cafe, alone, no pearls in sight. The headline read, "Former Society Queen's Fall from Grace Continues." "You know what's better than revenge?" I asked, stopping to admire the performing arts center I'd designed. "Success, real, earned, undeniable success." Speaking of success, Livia nodded toward a construction site across the street. "Isn't that where your new women's business center will be? Breaking ground next week. We're calling it the Phoenix Center." "Rising from the ashes?" Livia smiled. "Something like that." My phone chimed, an email from the governor's office, confirming my appointment to the state's Urban Development Board, the position Vivian had coveted for years. "Perfect timing," I said, showing Livia the email. "The board meets in that building, right there, the one I designed last year." We laughed together, standing in the shadow of my creation. Around us, the city pulsed with life, each building telling its own story. But mine was written in steel and glass, reaching toward the sky, impossible to ignore or diminish. I'd built something Vivian could never tear down: a legacy of truth, strength, and redemption. And I was just getting started. "Come on," I told Livia. "I've got a city to rebuild. This time, no one would stand in my way."